I'm Allison Davis coming to you live from GBTA Broadcast Studio at GBTA Convention 2019 Chicago. We're here at McCormick Place, and this afternoon I have with me Emanuel Scanscani from Riskline. Emanuel, thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Hi, Allison. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you. We're excited
Thank
to
you.
talk about what you know best, and that is risk management.
Yeah.
So risk management is key in every managed travel program, and it seems like now more than ever that threats are constantly evolving. So are there any new threats to business travel or security that travel managers need to have on their radar? And on the flip side, maybe there's good news. Are there any threats on the decline? I hope there's good news too.
Well, I'm afraid I'm a pessimist, but travel risk management should be seen as an ongoing process rather than a one-off thing. Threats are changing all the time everywhere, depending on the context, depending on the specific threat we are looking at. But I think that by looking at the long term, there are three threats that will affect business travelers and leisure travelers more and more, and these are cyber threats, particularly due to the impact and the interlink between the travel industry and technology. The travel industry is more and more reliant on technology, and therefore there is a big vulnerability over the risk that can be caused by this. We should also consider that all countries around the world are implementing different regulations to tackle cyber threats and educate the users of the internet in their respective countries. So it's of paramount importance that travelers going to specific destinations know how to behave, how to use their technology, and so on. The second threat, which is often the cause of the first, is what I call the big return of geopolitics. So this is mostly caused by the current crisis of the system of world governance, by the divisions within the Western world, and growing tensions with Russia and China. So all this is affecting potentially, and potentially the impact on travelers could be very high. We are not seeing many conflicts that broke out, but escalations are set to become more and more likely. There are new conflict hotspots around the world, or all the ones that become more refueled, gain new attention based on the current geopolitical climate. So I believe escalations will be more and more likely. Third, clearly climate change is greatly affecting travelers, and it will be more and more so. This will affect business travelers and leisure travelers, tourists alike. The truth is that the pattern of weather storms, for example, is more and more erratic, cannot be predicted, and the impact is normally getting more and more significant. So all these three threats, in my view, are the main threats we will be looking at in the long term. As for threats that are declining, I'm afraid I don't have many good news. I think, though, that we can learn to live with threats, we can learn to minimize risks, we can learn how to mitigate risks whenever they appear. If I had to mention one, just to give an answer, I think, since I am from Europe, maybe the threat from Islamic terrorism, I will not say it is declining, but it is more under control than it used to be few years ago. Of course, an attack could happen without notice, but Western European governments are more, have learned how to prevent and how to respond to this type of events.
Absolutely. So lastly, quickly, let's talk about preparation just for a second. Why is pre-travel education so important?
Well, pre-travel education is of paramount importance. If we think at the whole travel risk management process, that's the initial part of travel preparation, how to get a traveler ready before he goes to destination. So this is a task of tremendous importance, and it eventually relies on the company, on the travel or security manager in the company, as well as on the traveler to know. So there is a specific preparation to be done before going to any destination, really, and this goes beyond a simply sheet of information to be read, but it should be knowing how to behave. Ideally, what should happen is that the gap, the expectation gap between the behavior the traveler wants to have when traveling and the behavior the company wants the traveler to have should be as close as possible.
Absolutely.
As close as possible, and in other words, there should be no difference in risk appetite that the company can have and what the traveler will actually do once he's at destination.
Everyone should be on the same page.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Manuel, thank you so much again for being here with us this afternoon. It was a pleasure to have you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Once again, I'm Allison Davis coming to you live from GBTA Broadcast Studio at GBTA Convention in Chicago. Thank you for joining us.